Hello everyone, my name is Alma Garcia and today I will present my English lesson plan based on Piaget theory of cognitive development. The topic I choose from my lesson plan is countable and uncountable nouns for an A1, A2 English level. So I'll explain the theory and then show how every activity in my lesson reflects the Piaget's idea. Okay, so Piaget believed that children develop thinking abilities in four universal stages. Um, the first one will be the sensory motor, that is from 0 years to the 2 years old, and is learning through senses and physical interaction. The stage number two is pre-operational stage, that is from 2 to 7 years old, and it is symbolic thinking grows, but logic is limited. We have the stage number three, that is concrete operational stage, that is from 7 to 11 years old, and it is when children start thinking logically about concrete information. They classify, sort, and understand conservation. And the last stage, that is the formal operational stage, that is from 12 years old to adulthood. And it is the abstract thinking and hypothetical reasoning develop. So for this lesson plan, dedicated for an A1, A2 English group, the students are usually in the concrete operational stage, or they might be entering the formal operational stage. That is from the ages that it is mentioned before. That is from 7 to 11, or 11 to 14, or even to adulthood. This is important because these students learn best when we give them visual aids, classification activities, a hands-on sorting task, or worksheets, as you very know, or real context examples, so they can develop this stage in real life situations. Piaget also explained three cognitive processes. One of them is assimilation, that is using what we already know to understand new information. We have accommodation also, that is adjusting our thinking when information doesn't fit. And we have disequilibrium, that is the moment of confusion that pushes learning to happen. So here my lesson plan was designed to create these moments intentionally so students can build new knowledge. Okay, here in my lesson, the moment of disequilibrium appears when students see nouns like rice or milk in this case and realize that they cannot count them like apples or like books. So this temporary confusion helps them question themselves about what they know about counting. Then comes assimilation. They try to fit this new information into their existing schema about nouns. So as you can see right here, I will ask the students to fill in blanks quickly, but to write wrong answers. So they write something like many milk, two rices, three waters. So so here the students apply assimilation using the old rule that they had before. That is, all nouns can be counted. So finally, through guided explanation from the teacher and activities, students adjust and reach accommodation. That is forming a new understanding of countable versus uncountable nouns. So now the activity is called new rule discovery, and then I will explain them that countables have a plural form and uncountable don't take plurals. As an example, I will show them that is, we can count apples, but we cannot say rices. It sounds weird, but we can say books, but we cannot say waters. So the students here adjust their thinking So they may say, "Oh, rice and milk cannot be counted individually." And here is where the Piaget theory applies with the accommodation. When the students create a new schema with the new information that the teacher already gave to them. Okay, so a little explanation of why I chose this topic. So here my lesson uses materials and tasks that are appropriate for concrete operational students. That was the mentioned before with visuals, sorting tasks, classification activities, and real life examples like food items or any other types of items. Um, so now Bloom's taxonomy helped me structure learning progression. And we start by remembering nouns, then understanding, analyzing, applying, creating, and finally evaluating. So in the next slides, you'll see that each step of my lesson moves from simple cognitive task to more complex ones, aligning both with Bloom's taxonomy and with Piaget's developmental expectation. Okay, here is where the activities start. First, I will start with a warm up. So for the warm up, I use a very simple and concrete activity called touch and tell. So I will show students real objects or pictures, things like apples, pencil, water, milk, um, and they will identify them as nouns. So this works well because concrete operational learners understand this through physical and visual stimulation. And it also activates their prior knowledge and prepares their schemas for the new concept. So the next activity will be noun classification. So the students classify noun cards into concrete and abstract categories. Classification is one of the hallmark cognitive skill in the concrete operational stage. So by sorting words like share, music, peace, and happiness, eh, and others, of course, students begin to mentally organize this information, which is essential before introducing countables versus uncountable nouns. So, for the next activity, I will introduce the countable versus uncountable. So, I will present images of different items and ask the students to decide whether they can be counted or not. So, at this point, many students experience what Piaget calls disequilibrium, especially when they realize items like rice or milk don't fit in their previous counting rule, as I mentioned before. So this confusion is productive because it pushes them to adjust their understanding. For the next activity, we have the guided worksheet. Okay, so this worksheet gives the students a chance to manipulate information directly. So they will circle countable nouns in blue or in another color as the teacher decide, and uncountable nouns in green. So this step is important because Piaget emphasized learning through action. So students need to physically work with the information to internalize the new schema. The next activity will be we will working as a group. So this group activity is where learning becomes more meaningful. Okay, and the students sort grocery items into countable and uncountable categories, and then create sentences using quantifiers like some, many, much, or any other quantifier that the teacher will explain. So this activity combines classification, teamwork, and real life relevance also. So all essential components for learners in the concrete operational stage. And it also starts preparing them for the early abstract reasoning that that will be seen in the formal operational stage. And the final activity that will be the students will be working in pairs. So the activity asks students to write two original sentences and then exchange notebooks with a partner. So this peer correction promotes reflective thinking and meta-connection. So it can be to exchange notebooks with another classmate, or as well to give the notebooks to the teacher so the teacher can evaluate their reflective thinking. It also encourages students to evaluate whether their new schema about countable and uncountable nouns is correctly applied. So, a perfect example of progression in Bloom's taxonomy into the evaluate level. Okay, so in the previous slides, we have covered the learning objectives in Bloom's taxonomy that we remember with identifying nouns, they understand that differentiating noun types, they apply, use quantifiers, analyze that it was when the students classify nouns correctly, create when the students gather in pairs, so they write two original sentences, and the evaluation that it's correct the student work. And as I mentioned before, it can be the exchange of notebooks between classmates or the correction between a teacher and a student. So the student gives the notebook to the teacher, and the teacher gives some feedback or the necessary corrections for the work. And just to sum up what we see already in the concrete operational stage, we have the real objects. The teacher show pictures. Um, I give the sorting mats. I give them hands-on cards, worksheets, and encourage the group work or the social work into the group. All right, so to conclude, this lesson plan shows how Piaget's theory of the cognitive development can be applied directly in an English class. So each activity was created for learners at a great operational stage using visuals, real objects, and certain tasks, and also hands-on practices. And so the types of learning experiences students at this age understand the best. Throughout the lesson, the students experience moments of disequilibrium, especially when they realize that some nouns cannot be counted as other ones. So this temporary confusion helped them move through assimilation and accommodation. And of course, allowing their understanding of the topic to develop more naturally. Okay, the activities also follows Bloom's taxonomy, starting with recalling nouns, then understanding and classifying them, finally applying and creating with the new structures. And here the peer checking task encourage the students to evaluate the learning and think about their own thinking. And overall, the lesson supports both language development and cognitive growth, making making learning more meaningful and aligned with how students learn nowadays, or how students actually learn these times. I hope you really enjoyed this lesson plan explanation using the Piaget theory of cognitive development and the Bloom's taxonomy. I hope the information was clear enough. So if you have any doubts, don't hesitate to contact me. I'm gonna leave my mail address so you can ask some questions there. Thank you so much for your attention. I hope you have a wonderful day. And that's it. My name is Alma Garcia, and this is the final project for educational psychology class. See you around.